He accidentally hit his head on the 500-year-old wall and heard a voice inside say, "You saved me." Jack had always loved ruins. From the moment he could walk, he was drawn to places that carried the weight of centuries. While most people looked at old stones and saw nothing but dust, Jack saw stories. Stories of people, of wars, of victories and failures that time had tried to swallow. He had spent years traveling from planet to planet, seeking the forgotten civilizations that once thrived in the galaxy, and he had learned to be patient, careful, and observant. Every crack in a wall, every faded carving, every uneven stone could tell him something if he only took the time to look. That day, he was on Erendor 7, a planet covered in rolling deserts and jagged cliffs. Centuries ago, it had been home to one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, now vanished without a trace. Most explorers had long abandoned the planet, claiming it was barren, unworthy of attention. But Jack had read old records, scanned forgotten maps, and finally convinced a small research crew to take him there. As the landing shuttle touched down on the rocky surface, he felt the familiar thrill in his chest. This was the kind of place where discoveries waited in the shadows, where history whispered through dust and stone. He walked alone, leaving the shuttle behind, carrying only a backpack, a scanner, and a set of hand tools. The city was enormous. Massive walls, cracked and worn, rose above him like the bones of ancient giants. They were made from a dark, polished stone that reflected the sun in dull, dull glimmers, and their surfaces were etched with symbols Jack could only imagine were centuries old. He ran his fingers over the grooves, feeling the story of the builders pulse through his hands. He had seen old walls before, yes, but there was something about these that felt alive, something that hummed beneath the surface. Jack moved carefully, stepping over rubble and avoiding loose stones. He had been warned. The ruins could be unstable, and he had seen other explorers make careless mistakes that ended in broken bones. He had learned to respect old places. But even the most cautious could sometimes be unlucky. He was crouched near the base of a massive wall, examining a series of carvings that twisted across its surface like a frozen river of stone, when his foot caught on a small, uneven rock. Jack stumbled forward. His shoulders slammed into the wall first, then his head followed, striking the cold stone with a sharp thunk. Stars danced behind his eyes. He groaned and sank to one knee, rubbing the back of his head where the impact had been sharp. And then he heard it. At first, he thought it was his imagination, the ringing in his skull creating phantom voices. But the words were clear, soft, but urgent. "You saved me." Jack froze. The desert wind whispered around him, the sand shifting over ruins that had been abandoned for hundreds of years. Yet the voice was distinct, coming from the wall itself. He pressed a hand to the stone, as if he could feel the words through it. "Who's there?" he asked, though he doubted anyone could answer him. You are here," the voice said again, calmer this time, almost like it had been waiting for him. "You saved me." Jack's heart raced. He looked around. The ruins were empty, silent except for the faint wind. Nothing moved, nothing breathed, and yet the voice had come from the wall. A chill ran down his spine, but it was mixed with excitement. He had heard of strange phenomena before, tales of ghosts trapped in old structures or artificial intelligences left behind by ancient civilizations. But this was different. This sounded alive. He pressed his ear to the wall, listening intently. "Saved me?" he repeated softly, unsure why he even whispered. The voice was quiet, almost like a breath inside the stone. "Saved me from what?" "You don't understand," the voice said. "I have been waiting, trapped for so long." Jack staggered back a step. He had explored ruins before, but nothing like this. His rational mind screamed for caution. Something about this was dangerous. Yet curiosity burned stronger than fear. He crouched again and pulled out his small scanner, sweeping it across the wall's surface. The device beeped softly, lights flashing across its screen. Jack frowned. The readings were strange energy signatures he had never seen before. The wall wasn't just stone, it was something else, something alive. "Who are you?" he asked. There was a pause. The desert wind whistled, and Jack wondered if the ruins themselves were listening. Then the voice came again, stronger. I was a guardian, a protector. I was sealed here to survive a war that destroyed my world. You have freed me, though you do not know it." Jack's mind raced. The words made no sense at first. A guardian, sealed inside a wall, and for centuries. He shook his head, trying to clear the confusion. But even as he did, a strange feeling settled over him. A sense of responsibility, almost as if the voice's survival depended on him. He ran his fingers along the wall, searching for a crack or a hidden panel, something that could explain what he was sensing. And then he noticed it, a faint outline in the stone, a seam that didn't quite match the rest of the wall. He traced it with his fingers. The wall was older than anyone could imagine, built with precision that should have been impossible for its time. Yet here it was, humming with energy, and inside it, something alive. I don't understand, Jack admitted aloud. How can anyone be trapped inside a wall? You cannot see me yet, the voice said. But I am here. I was preserved for a reason. Your arrival was not an accident. You were meant to find me. Jack blinked, staring at the wall. His heart pounded, but he also felt a strange thrill. He had spent years searching for signs of intelligence from the past, and now he had found it. Not just a civilization, but a being alive waiting. The idea was almost too incredible to believe. He gathered his tools, carefully examining the seam again. The wall was cold, impossibly hard, but his scanner indicated weak points, energy signatures that suggested the presence of a containment field. Whatever was inside, it had technology beyond anything Jack had ever seen. I don't know if I can open this, he said cautiously, but I'll try. Be careful, the voice warned. The others, the ones who sealed me, they will not want me freed. You must hurry. Jack hesitated. Others, who are they? Enemies, the voice said simply. They destroyed my world. I was the last, and now you are the first to find me. A chill ran down Jack's spine. The ruins that had seemed peaceful moments ago now felt dangerous. He realized that his discovery could draw attention, unwanted attention. But the thought of leaving the being trapped, after it had spoken to him, was impossible. He had a responsibility now. For hours, Jack worked, carefully chiseling and scanning, analyzing the wall for its secrets. Every time he thought he had made progress, the wall resisted, as if it were aware of his efforts. The voice inside guided him, giving subtle instructions, hints, and encouragement. It spoke of mechanisms built to protect it, of traps meant to keep intruders away. And Jack realized that freeing this being was not just a matter of brute force. It required understanding, patience, and trust. As the sun began to set over the desert, painting the ruins in shades of red and gold, Jack finally found a small panel hidden in the seam. He pressed it, and with a faint hum, the wall shifted slightly, revealing a narrow crack. A soft, golden light spilled through, warm and alive. The voice sounded closer now, almost grateful. You are ready, it said. Step carefully. Jack took a deep breath. He had no idea what awaited him behind the wall, no idea if the being inside would be friend or foe. But something inside him told him to continue, to take the risk. He slid the panel further open, revealing a chamber filled with faint, shimmering light, as if the stone itself had been hollowed to contain energy. The wind outside whispered through the ruins, carrying dust and secrets across the ancient city. And inside the chamber, something waited, silent and alive, finally free to speak because of a single accident. A bump to the head, a stumble that could have ended in pain, but instead had opened the door to a secret 500 years old. Jack knew his life was about to change forever. The voice spoke once more, soft but urgent. Thank you for finding me. I have waited centuries for this moment. Now we begin. And Jack realized, as he stepped closer to the shimmering light, that he was not just an explorer anymore. He was part of something far greater, a story older than any human memory, a being whose survival could alter the course of worlds, and a secret that the galaxy had almost forgotten. He did not yet understand what it all meant. He did not know the danger that lay ahead, the enemies who would come to stop them, or the power that this being could unleash. But one thing was clear. Jack had stumbled into history, and history was about to wake up. And as the last rays of sun vanished behind the desert cliffs, Jack reached into the chamber, and the voice inside whispered again, more clearly than ever. You saved me, and now you must help me save the galaxy. Jack stared into the chamber, heart pounding. The light inside was soft, almost liquid, swirling in golden threads that moved like living energy. At the center of the glow was the entity, suspended as if in a bubble of air, its form humanoid but translucent, shifting like molten glass. Jack had never seen anything like it in his life. He reached out cautious, but the moment his hand came close, the entity's voice filled the chamber, calm yet commanding. Do not fear me, it said. I have waited for you. You were the one I sensed, the one who could release me. Jack swallowed hard. Who are you? He asked. And what are you? How is this possible? I am Erythian, the entity said, a guardian of knowledge and life. I was created by a civilization that feared annihilation. When our enemies attacked, I was sealed here to survive. I have waited centuries for someone worthy enough to find me. Jack's mind raced. A civilization, enemies, centuries of waiting. He tried to imagine it, but his mind could barely hold the scale of what he was seeing. The being in front of him wasn't just alive, it was alive in ways humans could hardly comprehend. And it had survived in the stone for 500 years. 500 years. You've been trapped all this time? Jack asked softly, feeling a mix of awe and guilt. Why were you sealed? Who did this to you? Erythian's form pulsed, brightening with the emotion that Jack somehow understood as sorrow. Our enemies feared the knowledge I hold. They destroyed my world and sealed me away to prevent me from helping anyone else. I was the last hope, and now because of you I am free. Jack took a careful step back. I didn't mean to, I just hit my head. It was an accident. You were meant to be here, Erythian said. Accident or not, your actions have changed the course of events. But you must understand, danger follows me. The ones who destroyed my people, they are still out there. They will not forgive you for freeing me. Jack felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Danger was one thing he could handle, but he had been alone so far, exploring ruins for months. Now he was staring into a being of incredible power, and the entity warned that others would come to hunt them. Enemies? How? Who are they now? He asked. They are descendants of those who once sealed me, Erythian explained. They have inherited the knowledge and the technology to hunt me across worlds. They call themselves the Shadow Covenant. They believe I am a threat that must be destroyed before I can reveal what my people left behind. And they are patient, Jack, very patient. Jack's mind spun. Shadow Covenant, hunters from the past, a guardian being centuries old, and now he was in the middle of it. But the spark inside him, the part of him that always wanted to do the right thing, refused to let him step back. He had released Erythian. He couldn't abandon it. What do we do? He asked, steadying his voice. If they come, I don't even have weapons, let alone a plan. Erythian's light pulsed brighter, almost like a heartbeat. You have more than you realize. Your mind is clever, your hands are steady, and your courage unmatched. I can guide you. I can teach you how to protect yourself, how to protect me, but you must trust me completely. Jack swallowed again. Trust a being that had been trapped for centuries, that could probably destroy him with a thought. It sounded insane. Yet something about Erythian radiated calm and honesty. There was no threat in the voice, only a quiet insistence that Jack could help, and that together they could survive what was coming. All right, Jack said finally. I'll trust you, but we need to move. I have no idea how long before they find us. Erythian nodded, if nodding could be sensed in a being of light. They will come, but first you must understand my abilities and the knowledge I hold. It will help you survive. Jack crouched on the edge of the glowing chamber, listening as Erythian explained. It spoke of technologies that could manipulate matter, generate energy from nothing, and heal wounds faster than any medicine known to humans. It told stories of civilizations that had once flourished across multiple galaxies, civilizations that had been destroyed in wars fueled by greed, fear, and ambition. And all the while, Jack realized that the being's memory was perfect, untouched by time. Every detail, every lesson from its people was stored inside it, waiting to be shared. You can teach me? Jack asked, astonished. All this knowledge? Yes, Erythian said, but not all at once. You are human, limited in what you can comprehend. We will proceed step by step. First, survival, then understanding, then transformation. Jack felt the weight of those words. Transformation. He frowned, but before he could ask, Erythian spoke again. We must leave the ruins soon. The Shadow Covenant may already sense my presence. We cannot stay here. Jack rose to his feet, looking at the wall he had just emerged from. He had spent hours chiseling, examining, and finally opening a crack into this secret chamber. And now he had to leave it behind. He felt a pang of loss, but also the thrill of adventure. All right, he said. Where do we go? Erythian extended a glowing tendril of energy toward him. Follow me. I will show you the way. Jack hesitated only for a moment before placing his hand in the energy. It was warm, not like fire, but alive. As soon as he touched it, a sudden vision flashed in his mind. Maps of stars, hidden pathways, and safe havens that no human had ever seen. He gasped and stepped forward, following the light as it led him to a hidden exit at the base of the ruins. The sun had fully set now, and the desert was cold. The ruins looked quiet, but Jack could feel tension in the air as if the stones themselves were holding their breath. He glanced back at the wall. Orithian had been trapped there for centuries, and now it was free. Free and vulnerable. Why did they seal you in the first place? Jack asked as they moved through a narrow canyon. If you are so powerful, why hide? To protect knowledge, Orithian said. To survive. My people understood that power unchecked could destroy everything. The Shadow Covenant never understood restraint. They sought control, domination. I could not allow that, and so I was hidden, preserved, waiting for someone who could release me safely. Jack nodded slowly. The pieces fit together, but barely. He had read about civilizations that had hidden their knowledge to survive. He had never thought he would meet one. Now, walking beside this being, he felt both small and important. Small because the universe was vast, and important because his choices could affect the future. Hours passed as they navigated the canyon, moving quietly, avoiding the open desert where sensors or patrols from the Covenant might detect them. Jack was exhausted, but adrenaline kept him alert. Every step felt heavy with the weight of responsibility. Orithian floated alongside him, its light dimming slightly to avoid drawing attention. Finally, they reached a small cave, hidden behind a cluster of jagged rocks. Orithian projected a soft golden glow inside, revealing the walls etched with symbols of an ancient language. Jack felt a strange connection, as if the cave itself remembered what had happened centuries ago. This will be safe for now, Orithian said. We can rest, but do not relax too much. The Shadow Covenant's reach is long. They may already be aware of my awakening. Jack sank to the ground, rubbing his sore head. He had been hit, chased visions of being trapped, and now he was sitting in a cave with a being from the past, discussing the end of civilizations. His life had changed in a single day, and he felt both terrified and exhilarated. You'll teach me to protect us? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Yes, Orithian said, but it is not just about protection, it is about understanding. You must learn the knowledge my people left behind, or we cannot survive what is coming. You will need to think, adapt, and act faster than any human has before. Are you ready? Jack looked at the shimmering entity, light reflecting off the cave walls, illuminating ancient carvings that seemed to move in rhythm with the glow. He thought about the weight of the task, the danger, and the responsibility, and he knew there was no turning back. I'm ready, he said, determination in his voice. Teach me. Orithian's light pulsed, bright and steady. Then we begin. First, you must understand the basics. How energy can be shaped, how matter can respond to thought, and how survival requires both mind and heart. We will start with small exercises, and you will grow. But remember, Jack, the Shadow Covenant watches always. They will come for us. And when they do, you must be ready. Jack nodded, a mix of fear and excitement in his chest. He had faced danger before, but never like this. Never with stakes this high, and never with knowledge this vast. He took a deep breath and looked at the entity before him. The golden light shimmered, waiting, patient yet urgent, and Jack realized in that moment that his life had become something bigger than he could imagine. He was no longer just an explorer. He was a protector, a student, and perhaps a savior. The next steps would not be easy. The Shadow Covenant would not rest, but Jack had made a choice and there was no turning back. As the cave settled into silence, Jack prepared himself. Hours of learning awaited, danger lurked outside, and the future of countless worlds rested in some way in his hands. The voice inside the chamber had been right. He had saved Orithian. But now he understood that saving the being was only the beginning. The galaxy had opened a door and Jack had stepped through. And in the stillness of the desert night, he knew that the adventure was only just beginning. The night air was cold, and the desert winds howled through the jagged rocks surrounding Jack and Orithian's hidden cave. Jack could hear his own breathing, steady but tense. He had learned to trust his instincts in dangerous places, but this was different. He was no longer dealing with natural hazards or crumbling ruins. He was in the midst of a conflict older than humanity, a war he had never known existed, and his companion was a being of power beyond comprehension. Orithian's light shimmered softly in the cave, a calm presence that contrasted with the tension Jack felt. The entity floated silently, almost meditative, as it spoke. The Shadow Covenant will arrive soon. I have sensed them for days. Their ships are fast, their scouts relentless. They will attempt to strike before we can escape this planet. We must prepare. Jack frowned. Prepare how? I don't have weapons, I don't even have a plan. You have your mind, your hands, your courage, Orithian replied. These are tools, the rest you will learn. The first lesson is understanding energy. Matter responds to thought, focus, and intent. Watch carefully. Jack watched as Orithian extended a glowing tendril toward a cluster of rocks in the cave. The stones lifted from the ground, spinning slowly in the air, forming shapes that defied gravity. Jack's eyes widened. You're moving them with your mind? Yes, Orithian said. And one day you will do the same. But first we begin with small exercises. Focus, imagine, and let your hands guide your intent. Jack nodded, skeptical but curious. He reached toward a small rock, trying to mimic Orithian's movements. At first, nothing happened. The rock stayed firmly on the ground. But as he concentrated, focusing on the image of the rock floating in his mind, he felt a subtle vibration in his fingers. The rock wobbled slightly. His heart raced. He tried again, pushing harder with thought and focus. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the rock lifted an inch off the ground. Orithian's light pulsed brighter like a heartbeat. Good, you are beginning to understand. Strength comes from patience and focus. Fear blocks progress. You must let go of fear. Jack's hands shook as the rock hovered, spinning gently. He had never felt anything like this before. It was thrilling and terrifying at the same time. This is incredible, he whispered. But why me? Why now? Because you have the qualities my people sought in those who would inherit our knowledge, Orithian said. Courage, curiosity, and a sense of responsibility. You are human, yet capable of more than most humans know. The Shadow Covenant will soon learn that too, and you must be ready. Jack took a deep breath, steadying his mind. All right, teach me everything I need to survive. Orithian's light shimmered. We begin with defense. They will strike with speed and cunning. Your first challenge is to learn how to manipulate energy into a protective field. Focus on the space around you. Feel the flow. Imagine a barrier that can resist force. Jack closed his eyes, imagining a shield surrounding him. He felt a strange warmth in his chest, a tingling that spread through his arms and legs. Slowly, he extended his hands, and the air in front of him shimmered faintly. A pulse of energy radiated outward. It wasn't perfect, but it was there, a small barrier enough to give him hope. Orithian nodded. Good, you are learning quickly. Now understand that your mind is only the beginning. The Shadow Covenant will attack physically, strategically, and psychologically. You must anticipate their moves before they make them. Jack opened his eyes and nodded. I understand, but when will they come? How do we know? They are already near, Orithian said. Scouts move faster than your eyes can follow. We must leave the cave before dawn. I can guide you through hidden paths beneath the desert. They will not find us if we move carefully. Jack packed his gear quickly, securing the few tools and supplies he had brought with him. Orithian projected a soft golden map in front of him, lines and pathways appearing like a hologram. These tunnels lead beneath the surface. They were created centuries ago as escape routes for my people. Few know of them today. We will move through them, but you must follow precisely. Jack studied the map. The tunnels twisted and turned like veins, some narrow, some wide enough to drive a small vehicle through. All right, he said. Lead the way. Orithian hovered ahead, glowing faintly to illuminate the dark path. Jack followed, moving carefully over uneven ground, listening to the whispers of the wind above and the soft hum of energy beneath. For hours, they navigated the tunnels, avoiding areas where the Shadow Covenant's sensors might detect them. Jack marveled at the ingenuity of the ancient builders, who had hidden these passageways so effectively that even centuries later, they remained almost invisible. As they moved, Orithian continued teaching. You must understand speed and perception. Humans rely too much on sight. You must sense energy, movement, and intent. When the Covenant strikes, they will attempt to overwhelm you with technology. You must see through it, anticipate it, and respond. Jack nodded, absorbing the lessons as best he could. He practiced focusing energy, lifting small stones, creating barriers, and sensing the flow around him. Each attempt left him exhausted, but progress was visible. He could feel it. He was changing, becoming something more than human, guided by Orithian's centuries of knowledge. Suddenly, a distant rumble echoed through the tunnels. Jack froze. Did you hear that? He whispered. Orithian's light flared briefly. Yes, they are close, scouts. We must move faster. Jack followed the glowing entity as the tunnels narrowed, forcing him to crawl at times, slide past jagged rocks, and leap over small chasms. The sound of pursuit grew louder, metallic echoes, distant footsteps, faint mechanical beeps. The Shadow Covenant had found them. They are skilled, Orithian said, but not prepared for what we can do. Trust yourself, Jack, trust me. Jack's heart raced, but he focused on the exercises Orithian had taught him. He extended his hands and created a small barrier in front of him as they rounded a corner. The barrier shimmered and pulsed, deflecting a sharp metal dart that had been fired from the pursuing scouts. Jack's eyes widened. It worked! Yes, Orithian said calmly. You can do more, anticipate, adapt, and act without hesitation. They continued through the tunnels, facing more traps and attacks. The Covenant had anticipated escape routes, planting automated defenses and ambushes. But Jack, guided by Orithian, navigated them all, learning with each encounter, reacting faster and growing more confident. Hours passed, and the first light of dawn began to filter through cracks in the rocks above. Jack and Orithian emerged from the tunnels into a hidden valley, surrounded by cliffs and jagged rock formations. The valley was serene, almost untouched, a perfect place to rest, but not for long. Orithian hovered beside him, its light steady. We are safe for now, it said. But the Covenant will not stop. They will adapt, pursue, and strike with greater force. You must continue training. You must become more than human, or we will not survive. Jack nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. Orithian pulsed brightly, almost approvingly. Good. The next lesson is control of matter beyond your own body. You will learn to shape energy into tools, weapons, and even vehicles if necessary. This will give you an advantage no human has ever known. Jack's mind whirled. He had already moved stones, created barriers, and sensed energy. Now he would manipulate matter itself. The thought was overwhelming, but he felt a surge of excitement. This was what he had always wanted: discovery, adventure, growth beyond what he thought possible. As the sun rose over the hidden valley, Jack and Orithian prepared for the next stage of training. The Covenant would not wait, and neither could they. Jack felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him, but also a new sense of purpose. He had freed Orithian, yes, but now he was part of something greater. Together they would face the Shadow Covenant, and together they would survive. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the early morning sun on his face. He had come to Urindor 7 seeking ruins, seeking history, and he had found something far greater. He had found a being of immense power, a companion, and a purpose that would push him beyond anything he had ever imagined. The Shadow Covenant was coming. Danger lurked around every corner, but Jack was ready to learn, ready to fight, and ready to protect. The next chapter of his life, and perhaps the fate of many worlds, had begun. And as the light of dawn filled the valley, Jack felt a quiet certainty settle within him. He would not fail, he could not. The hidden valley was quiet, but Jack knew it was a fragile calm. The Shadow Covenant was relentless, and every passing moment could bring them closer. He had trained under Orithian's guidance, learning to manipulate energy, sense danger, and create defensive barriers. He could lift small objects with his mind, protect himself from attacks, and anticipate movements. But nothing had truly prepared him for the first full-scale confrontation. Orithian hovered beside him, golden light pulsating. They are coming, it said. Their scouts have located the valley. We cannot remain hidden for long. You are ready to test everything you have learned. Trust yourself, trust me. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine, but he nodded. He had to be ready. He had to protect Orithian. Together they were stronger than any single human or alien force, but the Covenant's power was vast. All right, he said, gripping a small rock in his hand, letting it hover as a practice shield. Show me what to do, Orithian's form shimmered. First, observe. They will approach strategically. Study their patterns. Use the terrain to your advantage. Remember everything you have learned? Jack focused. In the distance, a faint hum rose from the desert floor. Ships. The sound was low but distinct, mechanical, and menacing. Through the valley's jagged cliffs, he could see shadows moving, figures glinting with reflective armor. The Shadow Covenant had arrived, their scouts closing in to probe defenses. Prepare yourself, Orithian said. They will test your resolve. This is your first battle. Jack felt his heart hammering. He had faced danger before, but this was different. These were intelligent enemies, trained to hunt, to strategize, to eliminate. One wrong move, and both he and Orithian could be destroyed. He raised his hands, feeling the energy hum through him. The rocks hovering in front of him trembled slightly as he focused, forming a rough barrier. It wasn't perfect, but it would have to hold. The Covenant scouts emerged from the dunes, moving swiftly. They had small energy weapons that glowed with a blue light, scanning for life signs. Jack's barrier shimmered as the first shot struck, deflecting harmlessly. He gritted his teeth, concentrating, reinforcing the shield. Orithian floated beside him, projecting a glowing dome of energy that amplified his own barriers. Together, they formed a protective sphere. "Good," Orithian said. "Now strike. You can manipulate energy to create force, to push, to defend. Visualize it, command it." Jack focused, imagining a wave of energy pushing forward. The rocks around him shot outward, propelled by his will. They struck the scouts' vehicles, toppling them and sending sparks flying. The Covenant soldiers reacted instantly, firing again, but Jack's barrier absorbed most of the impact. He could feel the strain, sweat running down his forehead, but he kept pushing, keeping focus, letting his mind control his actions. One of the scouts advanced, its armor glowing bright as it fired a concentrated beam. Jack instinctively raised his hands, forming a dome of energy that absorbed the attack. The ground shook, rocks cracking under the force. Jack stumbled slightly but regained balance. Orithian's voice was calm, guiding him. "Steady, do not let fear control you. Control your energy, push back." Jack extended his hands, directing the energy forward in a concentrated wave. The scout was thrown off its feet, rolling across the rocky ground. Jack's breath came in short bursts, but he felt exhilaration. He was doing it. He was defending himself. He was learning, but the battle was not over. More scouts appeared, this time coordinated, using formations designed to surround and overwhelm. Jack realized the stakes were higher than he had imagined. If he lost focus, even for a second, the Covenant could strike a fatal blow. "Focus on the terrain," Orithian advised. "Use the rocks, the cliffs, the narrow passes. Force them into positions where you can control the flow of battle." Jack looked around. The valley was filled with jagged rock formations and uneven ground. He directed energy at the cliffs, causing small rocks to tumble and create barriers. The scouts stumbled, caught off guard by the sudden obstacles. He concentrated, guiding the energy to push them back, creating a funnel that forced the enemy into a narrow corridor. Orithian's light pulsed, sending waves of energy that reinforced Jack's barriers. "Excellent," it said. "Now you must combine offense and defense. Think ahead. Anticipate their moves. Your mind is your greatest weapon." Jack nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. He imagined the next wave of attacks, predicting where the scouts would move. He formed sharp projectiles from the surrounding rocks, sending them flying with precise control. Each strike knocked the enemy back, disrupted their formations, and bought precious time. The Covenant scouts adapted quickly, firing in bursts, trying to flank him. But Jack anticipated their movements, creating barriers, deflecting attacks, and striking with energy waves. His control was improving with each action, his confidence growing. He was no longer just reacting, he was directing the battle, using the environment and his abilities to dominate. Orithian hovered beside him, amplifying his energy, guiding his focus. "Do not fear exhaustion," it said. "Energy flows through the mind as much as the body. Concentrate and you will sustain yourself. Remember, victory comes from strategy, not just power." Hours seemed to pass, though the battle was shorter in reality. Jack and Orithian fought with precision, using every skill they had learned. The scouts, though relentless, were no match for their combined abilities. One by one, they were neutralized, driven back, or incapacitated by energy barriers and projectiles. Finally, the last scout attempted a desperate maneuver, firing a concentrated energy blast aimed directly at Jack. He felt panic rise, but remembered Orithian's training. With a deep breath, he projected a dome of energy around himself, absorbing the impact completely. The blast ricocheted back, striking the scout and disabling it instantly. Jack sank to his knees, exhausted but exhilarated. His hands trembled, his body aching, but he had survived. He had faced the Shadow Covenant and lived. Orithian's light hovered near him, warm and steady. "Well done," Orithian said softly. "You have proven your skill, your courage, and your focus. This is only the beginning, Jack. The Covenant will not stop. They will regroup and they will strike harder. But you are ready to face them, to protect yourself and to protect me." Jack nodded, still catching his breath. I can't believe I did that," he said, looking at the remaining scouts now disabled. "I never thought I could fight like this." "You are learning," Orithian said, "and you will continue to grow. Today you faced your first challenge. Tomorrow you will face even greater trials. Remember, Jack, the Shadow Covenant will never cease in their pursuit, but neither will we. Together, we are stronger than any force they can muster. Jack felt a sense of pride mixed with determination. The battle had tested him, pushed him to his limits, and revealed how far he had come. He had feared failure, feared losing Orythian, feared being overwhelmed. But he had endured, had learned, and had emerged victorious. The valley grew quiet once more, the early morning sun casting long shadows over the rocky terrain. Jack and Orythian took a moment to rest, recovering energy and preparing for the next stage of their journey. They knew the Covenant would return, stronger and more determined, but Jack felt ready. "I know they'll come again," he said, glancing at Orythian. "But we can handle it, right?" Orythian's light pulsed gently. "Yes, you are learning quickly, Jack. And as long as we remain vigilant, adaptable, and united, we will survive. The Covenant underestimates humans. They underestimate you. That is our advantage." Jack smiled faintly, feeling a surge of confidence. He had grown, adapted, and discovered abilities he never imagined he could possess. The Shadow Covenant was dangerous, relentless, and cunning. But so was he, now guided by knowledge and power far beyond any ordinary human. As they prepared to leave the valley, Jack glanced back at the rocky cliffs, feeling the weight of responsibility settling over him. He had freed Orythian, faced the first wave of enemies, and survived. But he knew the real challenges were still ahead. The Covenant would regroup, strike again, and push them to the limits. And Jack was ready, because he had learned that being human did not mean being weak. Being human meant courage, ingenuity, and the will to rise above impossible odds. And with Orythian by his side, he felt unstoppable. The journey was far from over. The Shadow Covenant would return, the battles would grow fiercer, and the stakes would rise higher. But Jack had faced his first real test, and he had survived. He had proven that humans, with courage and determination, could stand against powers that seemed beyond comprehension. The desert valley, silent once more, bore witness to the start of a new chapter. Jack and Orythian had fought together, learned together, and survived together. And as the sun climbed higher in the sky, Jack felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. He had saved a being trapped for centuries. He had faced an ancient enemy, and he had discovered a strength within himself that could change the fate of worlds. The Shadow Covenant would return, but Jack and Orythian would be ready. And when they did, the galaxy would see that humans, even one human, could stand against the impossible and prevail. The sky above the desert was streaked with orange and crimson as the sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the jagged cliffs. Jack and Orythian had moved quickly through hidden valleys, ancient tunnels, and rocky passes, always staying one step ahead of the Shadow Covenant. But now, the inevitable had come. Scanners in the distance picked up an approaching fleet, Covenant ships descending toward the planet's surface, sleek, metallic, and deadly. Jack stood at the edge of the cliff, the wind whipping his hair, and watched as dozens of ships hovered above the desert. His heart raced. "They've come all at once," he muttered. "We can't outrun that." Orythian's golden light pulsed, steady and calm. "We will not run, we will fight. You have learned well, Jack. You understand energy, strategy, and focus. Today, you will see how far humanity can rise when courage meets knowledge. We will give them a battle they will never forget." Jack swallowed hard, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This was more than a fight for survival. This was a fight for freedom, for knowledge, and for the future of countless worlds. He glanced at Orythian, the being who had been trapped for centuries, whose trust in him had never wavered. "All right," he said. "Let's do this." Orythian extended a glowing tendril toward him, and a map of the valley and surrounding desert appeared, projected in golden light. "We will divide them, confuse them, and strike precisely. Follow my guidance. Use the terrain. Use your abilities. Trust your mind, Jack." "Trust your instincts." Jack nodded, his hands trembling slightly as he formed small energy barriers around himself. The first ships descended, scanning for life. Automated drones flew ahead, probing the valley. Jack raised his hands, directing energy at the drones. Small rocks lifted, forming sharp projectiles that shot forward, striking the drones and disabling them. Sparks and light erupted as the machines fell from the sky. Orythian guided him, projecting force fields to deflect incoming energy beams. "Good," it said. "Now focus on coordination. Do not act alone. Let your actions flow with mine. Together we are stronger than anything they can muster." Jack nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. He could sense the flow of energy around him, the movement of enemies, and the rhythm of battle. He directed waves of force toward advancing Covenant soldiers, knocking them off their feet, disarming them, and buying precious seconds. Orithian's light amplified his efforts, creating powerful shockwaves that rippled through the battlefield. The Covenant ships fired in unison, energy beams cutting through the desert sand. Jack raised his barriers, feeling the heat of the beams against his hands, the vibration through the ground. He redirected the energy, channeling it toward the cliffs, causing rock slides that blocked some of the enemy advance. The combination of terrain, energy manipulation, and strategy allowed them to hold their ground. One of the larger ships descended, deploying heavily armed troops. Jack's heart pounded. This was different, more advanced, more dangerous, but Orithian hovered beside him, glowing brighter than ever. "Do not fear," it said. "You are ready, strike with precision, focus your mind. Control the battlefield." Jack lifted his hands, concentrating. Energy flowed from his mind, coalescing into glowing blades of light that hovered around him. He directed them toward the advancing soldiers, cutting through their armor and weapons with perfect accuracy. The soldiers faltered, retreating as Jack's focus and Orithian's guidance combined to create a wall of unstoppable force. Orithian extended its energy tendrils, manipulating the ships above. They tilted, staggered, and were forced to retreat slightly, their precision disrupted by the combined power of Jack and the ancient guardian. Jack felt exhilaration coursing through him. He had never imagined wielding such power, commanding energy like an extension of his own body. But the Covenant was relentless. More ships descended, more troops poured into the valley, and the desert erupted into chaos. Jack felt exhaustion creep in, his muscles trembling, his mind stretched to its limits. Orithian's voice cut through the strain. "Focus, Jack. Control your fear. Harness it. Let it sharpen your senses, not weaken you." Jack took a deep breath, centering himself. He formed barriers, launched energy strikes, and guided rock projectiles with precision. He anticipated enemy movements, reacted faster than any human should, and adapted to every new tactic the Covenant deployed. His body ached, his energy drained, but he pushed on, driven by purpose and the knowledge that failure was not an option. Hours passed in a blur of light, sound, and motion. Jack and Orithian fought as one, a seamless combination of human ingenuity and ancient power. Slowly, the tide of battle began to turn. Covenant ships were damaged, troops scattered, and morale faltered. The enemy commanders could not comprehend the coordination and power displayed by a single human guided by a being of light. Finally, the largest ship hovered close to the cliff edge, deploying a heavily armed strike team. Jack felt a surge of fear. This was the Covenant's elite, trained to eliminate the strongest threats. He raised his hands, summoning energy barriers and projected force waves to intercept the attackers. Sparks flew, weapons shattered, and soldiers fell as Jack's powers grew sharper with each passing moment. Orithian hovered beside him, its light brighter than the rising sun. "Now, Jack, strike at their command ship, disrupt their control, show them the strength of humanity and what they cannot conquer." Jack focused, visualizing the ship as a target, energy flowing through him in a concentrated beam. He released the energy in a blinding wave, striking the command ship. The impact sent it spinning, systems failing, and the Covenant soldiers below faltered, their coordination collapsing. Jack's heart pounded with exhilaration and fear. They were winning, but the battle was not over. Orithian extended its tendrils, creating a shield around Jack as the remaining ships attempted a desperate counterattack. Jack pushed forward, combining his energy with Orithian's, creating controlled blasts that disabled ships, neutralized soldiers, and tore through enemy defenses. The Covenant's retreat became inevitable. Jack's exhaustion was immense, but he felt a thrill he had never known. He had faced impossible odds, fought an enemy more advanced and ruthless than he could have imagined, and survived. Together with Orithian, he had turned the tide of battle, proving that courage, ingenuity, and determination could overcome overwhelming power. As the last of the Covenant ships retreated into the horizon, Jack sank to the ground, breathing heavily. Orithian hovered above, its light steady and warm. "You have done well, Jack," it said. "You have proven that humans are capable of far more than they realize. Today you have changed the balance. Today you have shown that courage and determination are as powerful as any weapon." Jack smiled faintly, still catching his breath. We did it," he said. I can't believe it. I thought we didn't stand a chance. No, Erythian said softly. You did more than survive. You learned, adapted, and overcame. You have earned the knowledge and trust my people sought to pass on. Humanity is now part of something greater, and you are its bridge. Jack stood, looking out over the valley. The desert was quiet once more, the chaos of battle fading into the distance. But he knew this was only the beginning. The Shadow Covenant would regroup, they would strike again, and the challenges ahead would grow even greater. Yet for the first time he felt confidence, strength, and purpose. You're right, Jack said. We have a long way to go, but we can do this, together. Erythian's light pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Yes. Together we will guide humanity, protect knowledge, and face any enemy that dares to challenge us. The galaxy will see what humans are capable of. You have saved me, Jack. Now we will save countless others. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of the promise, but also a surge of determination. He had started this journey as an explorer seeking ruins, seeking history. But he had found something far greater, a being of immense power, a purpose beyond himself, and a path to elevate humanity in ways he had never imagined. As the sun climbed higher, casting light over the rocky valley, Jack felt a quiet resolve. The Shadow Covenant would not stop. Challenges would come, battles would rage, and danger would be ever present. But humans had courage, creativity, and determination. And Jack had learned that even one human, guided by knowledge and trust, could face the impossible and prevail. Erythian's voice echoed softly in his mind, calm but resolute. The future is yours to shape, Jack. Remember this feeling, this power, and this courage. Humanity has begun its rise, and you, who stumbled into history by accident, have become its champion. Jack looked out over the desert, the wind on his face, the warmth of the sun behind him. He thought of the centuries Erythian had waited, the Shadow Covenant, and the battles yet to come. But he also thought of possibility, growth, and the potential of humans to rise above fear, limitation, and oppression. And in that moment, Jack knew one thing with certainty: humans could achieve greatness. They could survive, adapt, and rise to the challenges of the galaxy. And he would be there with Erythian by his side to lead the way. The battle was over, but the story was just beginning. Jack had freed a being trapped for centuries, faced an ancient enemy, and learned that courage, determination, and human ingenuity could conquer the impossible. The galaxy had witnessed the strength of a single human, and soon it would witness the rise of humanity itself. Jack clenched his fists, feeling energy coursing through him, and looked to the horizon. The Shadow Covenant might return, but he was ready. He was human, and humans did not give up. He had saved Erythian, and now together they would save the galaxy.